I'm glad you brought that up because it kind of ties into something else that I think is important and isn't being talked about correctly, which is this whole pull out of Afghanistan. Like you have people like Kyle Kalinske talking about, oh my God, yeah, we have to wait to see. But I mean, it's such a great thing that Joe Biden is like, and pretending like he's has some type of anti-war principle here, and he's, you know, he came up with the right conclusion. You know, oh my God, what we did in Afghanistan was so wrong, it was so immoral, and we destroyed that country, and we just need to get up. That's not what it is, and he's not getting out. And there's going to be thousands of mercenaries still there.
Yeah, he's just sending those troops to Africa,
and that's another thing. So all he's doing is shifting some of the troops around and bringing them other places to do more imperialism in other places around the world. So it's not like this is the analogy that I use on my show. Can you imagine if in the middle of World War II, Hitler and Germany was like, you know what? We're going to leave Poland. We're not going to occupy Poland anymore, but we're still going to take over the rest of the world. And then people were just giving him credit. Oh my God, Hitler.
Yeah, I feel like there were situations where that was the case and they knew like, oh no, it's still a problem. I mean, if that was the case, right? Like Japan and Germany had pulled out a bunch of places and we still nuked Japan.
Yeah. So it's like, you can't give them credit while they're actually doing a genocide and occupying and doing imperialism around the rest of the world. You can't give him an ounce of anti-war credit if he's just shifting troops from one place to another place and leaving thousands of mercenaries and thousands of CIA assets and still going to do airstrikes and like you can't give him any type of anti-war credit.
Yeah, especially because when you gotta. So also, and I want to know your opinion about this really quick. We have to remember that Biden was very adamant about not pulling everybody out of Afghanistan when he got into power. Remember, because he said we need to have troops there, and then all of a sudden he was perfectly fine with it. Right as this AFRICOM shit ramps up. Now, like you said, he's sending mercenaries to Afghanistan, but it just, in my opinion, it just doubles back to clearly he's doing something else with the troops. He didn't say he's bringing them home. So we're pulling them out of Afghanistan.
Yeah,
not the same thing.
Yeah, so it's like that's just it's people like trying to act like those things are separate. Afghanistan separate from Syria, and Afghanistan separate from Yemen. No, it is all this part of this never-ending war machine in the military-industrial complex. And if they decide strategically that they want to just shift some troops around so that they can occupy somewhere else, we still have the same problem. And before you can even contemplate giving him any type of credit on ending wars or drop whatever the fuck, he has to at least acknowledge how fucked up and how abused the AUMF has been. And if you're not talking about repealing the AUMF and rescinding this bullshit authority that we have to just go to war anywhere around the world, then you don't actually have an anti-war position. You have
real quick, can you let people know what the AUMF is? Because they're not gonna know.
The authorization for use of military force, and it was granted after 9/11, and I think it was like one page, and it says that it was very broad and generic that we're giving authorization to the military to fight terrorism anywhere around the world.
Well, it gave it gave the power to the president to surge troops where they wanted to. Without consulting, to bypass Congress.
Yes.
So that was exclusively Congress's job. And Congress, by the way, a lot of the times actually does still feel that way, but you only know about it when it's convenient for their narrative.
Yeah. So that was the AUMF. And that same raggedy ass AUMF from like 2001 has been used to invade Iraq, Afghanistan. It used to for our involvement in Syria, in Yemen, in Somalia, in Libya. So that's the
probably about to be used for Haiti. It's probably about to be used for Haiti right now because the State Department announced that they haven't ruled out sending troops, and they're forcibly sending vaccines. So if the vaccines are going, the troops are going with them. Come on, guys.
Yeah. So it's like that is the root of all the evil here. And if you still believe in that AUMF and you still believe in this completely unchecked unilateral power authority that's been given to the president to just wage war whenever, wherever, if you still believe that, I'm not going to give you any ounce of credit for saying you're going to withdraw troops in one of the fucking endless list of countries that we're occupying.
Yeah. And it does seem endless because we don't even know every country that we're in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you said about Africa.
like you said about Africa.
I was telling my like I was still at UNC actually. So this is like 2015, 2014. And I'm like, y'all do know we're in Syria. No, because they were just having a debate over whether or not we should send troops to Syria. I'm like, bro, they having a debate over whether or not they're going to vote yes on sending more troops to Syria. Best believe they already there. I know, because I was stationed at Fort Bragg and we literally were talking about it. Like we were talking about whether or not my unit was going to go to Syria at some point. The special forces were already there. We were already doing, how can you be bombing the shit out of people and have no one on the ground?
Yeah.
It's not how it works.
We will be anywhere and everywhere. Like you said about Africa earlier. That's now the new battleground for the war on terror. Mm-hmm. Now it's the I mean, they're still trying to overthrow Bashar al-Assad of Syria, but they aren't going as hard as they were before. And they are still occupied and still doing bombings in Iraq and Afghanistan, but they aren't going as hard as they were before. So what are they doing now? They're trying to they'll never leave. They will never leave.
They only wanted that to be destabilized, though, right? They've destroyed Syria.
They'll make sure it's destabilized, and that's exactly what it is. And now their focus is in Africa,
because Africa is stabilizing. There are people like a lot of these countries that you may not have been able to walk through in a lot of areas. Like they were getting better. They were becoming more stabilized. The African Union, even with all the austerity against them, which I know a lot of y'all don't even know exists, but there is an African Union. Yes. Gaddafi was actually the former chairman of the African Union, elected. Yes, they loved him. Him and Nelson Mandela were damn near best friends, in case you didn't know. So with everything they're going through, they were stabilizing. And if y'all know, like Africa has the most resources in the world. Like Africa is, if not, I'm not mistaken, the biggest continent in the world. It doesn't look like that on your map, but once again, they lie to y'all. Like Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken, is damn near as big as the United States is. Like it's damn near as big. And like the way it's presented on the map is that it looks like Nebraska.
Yeah, I've seen the imperialist map before.
Yeah. Oh, bro, it's disgusting.
The colonial map.
But they have what you want: oil, gold, some shit you ain't never heard of before, but it's waiting to be discovered. It's in Africa. Everybody knows it. And these everybody in America had an African in class. They ain't stupid. They getting straight A's and they're going to Duke, UNC, Harvard, and Yale. They know what to do with their resources, their money, and still maintain their culture. And that is a problem for Western imperialists who have only been able to be successful by crushing competition, not by being better than them. It's not the same thing. When you are engaging in a scenario with like what the West has done, where they present as if they like having equitable opportunity and then made the best man win by providing the best product, which that's what they present as. But in reality, it's let's crush them before they even know that we want something of theirs. Basically.
Yeah. And this whole new, this it's not new because we've been and I think it was the Intercept before they went to complete shit. They did that bombshell article about the shadow war in Africa years ago. And
yes, that was a while ago.
About how the dozens of countries and how there are more troops active in Africa than anywhere else around the world, like or more operations happening in Africa than anywhere around the world. And it's like this is just the newest iteration, the newest evolution of the colonialism that's been going on in Africa since it was discovered by the original colonialists. Yeah. So it's gross, and it's what I mean. We're already seeing the devastation and how we propping up terrorists and jihadist groups in Africa, just like we did
how Libya got overthrown. People don't know that.
Middle East, and it's just it's gross to see how we subject these people around the world to these terrible conditions for no other purpose than to serve the military-industrial complex and to serve the corporations who profit from stealing natural resources and profit from selling weapons and military equipment and all that stuff. So
I want to say though, helping the military-industrial complex in this particular case is a byproduct. At the Western Empire's core, it is about making sure that Africa never recognizes or realizes its potential. The military-industrial complex benefits from that. That's how you get them to participate without questioning it. The corporations obviously profit from it. That's why you get them to spend their money and use their resources to and get people almost about like the Green New Deal. What we saw all these, like we were telling people about, like, yo, y'all know this is a problem, right? This is going to lead to a lot of bad shit. The way that it was being presented, which is the fourth industrial is going to basically kick off the fourth industrial revolution, and Black people don't get benefited from that. We get hosed effectively. It's already started in some ways. When you are looking at the systematic at this point assassination of multiple African leaders over the last few years, hell, the last few months, there was an assassination attempt in Mali the other day, like 2 days ago. I'm like, bro, that's like what, 5 or 6? And then, I mean, once again, you can just look up Venezuela. They tried to assassinate Maduro like a month ago again. So it's really about shutting, and that's what's kind of scary, I guess, is because it's like, will Africa ever have peace without them unifying with basically the Middle East? I feel like that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a lot of those Arab nations to unify like they were doing with Gaddafi. And it's going to take a lot of those West African nations who try to stay out of it because, you know, for various reasons, some of it in being directly, unfortunately, connected to racism. But Egypt and Morocco are going to suffer just like Libya and Chad, Somalia, and Sudan by the end of this. If you're going to be perceived as competition, the West is coming for you. And that's including in your own country, in the United States, people. I just need y'all to know that.
Yeah. And I think that is necessary. And I think that it is required, this sort of unity between like the African nations and the Middle East. But honestly, I think it would just, if that would have happened, I think it would just pose a bigger challenge for the war machine. It wouldn't make them back down. So I think,
it would. I think it would. That's why, I mean, because I'm sure you've heard like about the theory. Well, actually, apparently it wasn't a theory because there was an interview about it, but Gaddafi was going to create an Arab Union. So he was already the chair of the African Union, and they were going to have an Arab Union, and that was going to be an economic and military union. So he would have probably been the chair of that Arab Union also. So now you would have had this guy in the middle of, like, because Libya's right there, you got Middle East right there, and the rest of Africa right there. Imagine, like, just economically, they would have crushed us. But then you have to worry about Iran's military. You have to worry about, obviously, the rest of the Middle East. But Iran and Iraq's military mixed with Libya and the African militaries, like, and then you're compromised now because Libya is in a strategic position. Arab countries are in strategic. Like, Israel is not that far from Libya. You get, like, it's just strategically, you're screwed. Economically, you're screwed. And they were like, we got to go get this motherfucker now, just because of how big of a threat that possibility could be.
Yeah, and that is a good point. That is a valid point. And like but that's the way that we respond to like anybody who poses some type of counter to the Western capitalism. That's what with the whole the war that we've been waging, economic warfare we've been waging against Cuba for the last 60 years, is because, one, they bucked the U.S. Dictatorship, the Batista dictatorship, and they overthrew that. And so part of the like our like balls to the wall campaign against Cuba is retaliation, and part of it is their government is proposing another way, of an entirely different way of running a country, where the government has this more central planning, and the government is more responsive to the people and has more of a role.
The number one responsibility
providing
is
for the people.
For corporations.
So what I've noticed is nowhere around the world will the U.S. allow that.
But the difference is, so we obviously handle the same situation the same way, like, where if you got to go, you got to go. However, it is the amplification of certain figures into the spotlight that lets you know how much of a threat they are. Because when we assassinated, for example, Maurice Bishop in Grenada, that kind of happened, kind of quietly. Like, some people knew who he was if you were in the Caribbean or in Central South America, but they didn't know. Most people don't know about that because he was a threat to maybe our interest in the Caribbean, but that's where it was going to, from the US's perspective, that's where it's going to stop. Gaddafi had to be a very unique threat, because I don't think that we like just were so persistent about taking down somebody that we called a dictator, bro. Because you're talking about, I don't know how old you are, but we were in Libya trying to overthrow Gaddafi since I was in elementary school. That people don't know that. I only know that because I was in Fort Bragg when it was happening, and I have family members who were special forces. Like, they would come back with rugs from Libya, money from Libya, come like dinars. I'm like, this is weird. I don't know why. Where you got this African shit from? Oh, from a place called Libya. I'm like, oh, what's that? And they, they would give you some feel good story about how they were over there saving everybody. No, that's not what they were doing. They were there to basically take out Gaddafi, and Gaddafi was better than the U.S. at a straight up fight. So they overthrew and installed somebody in Chad, had him bring over terrorists, had those terrorists go into Libya because they border each other. And every time Gaddafi would fight back, they would say he was killing his own people. And then you got enough support behind an awareness, quote unquote, behind taking down Gaddafi, that it became possible and everybody was okay with it and no one questioned it subsequently, which is not necessarily the case with some situations because they haven't done enough or became a big enough threat for people to see certain assassinations justified. And it could be a lot of backlash. Gaddafi was a clear threat, and they went out of their way to set the stage for his assassination. And I feel like the level of awareness that has grown about somebody the U.S. is trying to take out is how you know just how effective they were probably going to be in doing some damage to the empire's interests. So go ahead. I'll let you get the last thought.
Yeah. So, and the way that you framed that was good because, like, it shows the intent behind it. Like, because people think that, these wars and these endless occupations, we're just bumbling our way through it, and it just whoops, it happened. Like, these are very deliberate things. Like with Cuba, we've sanctioned the shit out of them and blockaded the country, and they're in economic crisis because we're waging economic warfare.
That bad, bro. What do you mean? They're not even that bad.
They do those things intentionally to try to like build up the justification for a further military intervention. And it's like the same thing plays out. It's like it's never just like it popped out of nowhere. It's always deliberate. And it's like the same thing in Syria. We destabilized Iraq, and then the Ba'athist government joined the jihadists, and they formed ISIS and whatever. So now they're roaming around Syria, and then we give them money and we give them more weapons. And what do you know? We have to get involved in Syria to fight ISIS, is what they told everybody. And it's like these people are so nefarious and so insidious, and it really like, and the fact that people, especially like to bring it all home, like the people who like AOC and Ilhan Omar, who claim to be anti-imperialist, but they're really not. They are different versions of imperialists. Like they really want to pretend like, oh, Joe Biden, we just have to talk to Joe Biden. Maybe he just doesn't know. Like, no.
Hell, are they doing that now? Are they even doing that anymore? I know they used to be like that.
No. And like all the people around them, like they've made a career off of starting wars, instigating wars, and then running the occupation, and then as soon as they get out, make a bunch of money off of it. Like this whole thing, you want to talk about a group, you want to talk about an intentional strategy to enforce imperialism. Like this whole, it is so elaborate and it's so intentional, and that's one thing I want people to understand. Like when it comes to these people, they aren't like good people making bad decisions. Like they're doing some real nefarious shit around the world.
Yeah, man.
And like people need to actually frame the discussion that way. Like Joe Biden isn't a good guy who just needs some talking to. He's a fucking war criminal who has spent 40 years starting wars all over the world, responsible for endless death and destruction. And then that's not even including all the intentional destructive economic policies, waging economic warfare against people in this country too. So like these people these are bad fucking people. If there were bad people on the planet, these are bad fucking people.
These are the baddest muff. That warlord over there somewhere in Middle East or in Africa, y'all think he bad, bruh. They got nothing on the Bidens, the Hillarys, the Bill Clintons. Like I always say, on Trump's best day, he can never be as dangerous as Joe Biden and Hillary